change of administration. That's their, this is their, they obviously don't understand the damage that's being done across the country where there are no assault weapons bans.
It's Governor J.B. Pritzker yesterday responding to a question about the U.S. Department of Justice filing an amicus brief in the appeals court siding with the district judge saying that the Illinois gun ban is unconstitutional. This as nearly a third of the Illinois state's attorneys from across the state have also filed an amicus brief siding with the district judge that it's unconstitutional to ban commonly owned firearms that are owned for lawful purposes. This is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us each and every weekday morning. It's pretty interesting to watch all of this unfold. And if you guys have been watching and following me at thecentersquare.com and here on YouTube for the past 2.5 years, we've been watching what's going on with this case. Even from before the Protect Illinois Communities Act passed in January of 2023 during a lame duck session of the state legislature with a gut and replace bill. It's been a contentious legal battle all throughout 2023 with lawsuits in state and federal court, up and down the judiciary in the Northern District and the Southern District. You had state level cases go all the way to the Illinois Supreme Court. You had different rulings across the spectrum with not much hearings as far as like evidence that was compiled and the record that was made. A lot of it was just via briefings and maybe some oral arguments, but at least when it comes to the Southern District of Illinois case, that one is still very much alive, and it's in the appeals court now on final judgment. So keep in mind, in 2023, after PICA, the Protect Illinois Communities Act, was passed and signed by the governor, they had preliminary legal maneuvers trying to challenge the law. And in the Southern District, on the initial request of, hey, hold this temporarily while we deal with the meat and potatoes of it, all right? But while we deal with the meat and potatoes, please take action now to block this from being impacting Illinois residents while we figure out if it's constitutional. Those preliminary issues lasted all of 2023. District judge said preliminary injunction. Appeals court said we're reversing that preliminary injunction, and then they even went all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court and asked for them to take the case, but the U.S. Supreme Court said, no, it's not ready yet. We want final judgment. So it went back to the district courts, and there, Judge Stephen McGlynn held a 4-day bench trial. I sat through all of it. If you were following me on X, you saw a lot of the rapid-fire tweeting about the testimony and all of the documentation that was talked about during that 4-day bench trial in the Southern District in East St. Louis, where Judge Stephen McGlynn wrapped up the hearing talking about the race riots in East St. Louis and how if the black population there only had similar types of firearms to protect themselves from rioters, it would probably have been a different outcome in East St. Louis so many years ago. So Judge McGlynn, after several weeks, decided, yes, this law is unconstitutional. These firearms are not the same as military firearms. AR-15s and semi-automatic firearms are commonly owned, and there's no history or an analog law from the founding era to ultimately have this law be legit. So the district judge last fall made that ruling, but he put a stay on the permanent injunction. Not a preliminary one, right? So again, all through 2023, preliminary stuff. All through 2024, final judgment stuff. And that came in November or so, or sometime in the fall. Immediately, the state appealed the district judge's ruling, went to the appeals court. The appeals court kept the stay in place, but they sat on it for months, not even giving a briefing schedule. Plaintiffs had to say, appeals court, listen, we're in limbo right now. We had a district judge that said this law is unconstitutional, and you guys aren't acting on this. You're just keeping your foot on the ruling from keeping it going into effect. So the appeals court then laid out the briefing schedule. The briefing schedule is now, and we've had the state file their appeal to the district judge's ruling. You had the plaintiffs file their response to the state, and now we get to amicus briefs where the U.S. Department of Justice filed an amicus brief with Assistant Attorney General Harmy Dillon posting this on X. The Second Amendment is not a second-class right. See you in court, Illinois. Proud of my civil rights team. Thank you, Jesus. Or is it... Jesus, there you go. So you got a link there to the brief. You can see that via Harmeet Dillon's link. And what we'll do is we'll just look at the outline, right? You can read this yourself, 34 pages. It goes through the arguments, the index of sorts, the act, they say, Illinois' law violates the Second Amendment by banning AR-15s and other firearms that are in common use by law-abiding citizens for lawful reasons. Many of the banned firearms are arms under the Second Amendment. The AR-15s and other firearms banned by the act are in common use by law-abiding citizens for lawful reasons. The U.S. Department of Justice says, as complete ban on AR-15s and other firearms that are in common use, the act violates the Second Amendment. It goes on to say, text history and precedent confirm that a legislature may not ban a class of weapons on the ground that the weapons are militaristic. So that was a real crucial part of the record that was built in the district court, which is different than what we've seen in other cases that have gone to the U.S. Supreme Court, not having as thorough of a record. So the record really reflected the difference between militaristic firearms and consumer grade firearms, from the metallurgy to the switch of semi-auto to full auto to burst and so on. So the U.S. Department of Justice pointing out that text history and precedent confirm that legislature may not ban a class of weapons on the ground that the weapons are militaristic. The Second Amendment text does not exclude militaristic arms. What is the Second Amendment? I'm sure some of you guys could probably recite it, but a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And that doesn't say anything about militaristic weapons. So back to this brief here. Second Amendment's history demonstrates the possession of at least certain militaristic weapons was a core part of the right to keep and bear arms. The U.S. Department of Justice, again, this is not a Second Amendment, foundation or an Illinois State Rifle Association or, the whatever other National Rifle Association, any other Second Amendment nonprofit group that advocates for Second Amendment rights. This is the U.S. Department of Justice filing this. So the Second Amendment history demonstrates the possession of at least certain militaristic weapons was a core part of the right to keep and bear arms. Second Amendment related precedent confirms that the government may not ban weapons on the grounds that they are militaristic. And it also says the act violates the Second Amendment by banning the possession of magazines and other firearms attachments that are in common use by law-abiding citizens for lawful reasons. So that, again, is the brief that the U.S. Department of Justice filed on behalf of supporting the district judge's ruling that Illinois' law is unconstitutional and to support the plaintiffs in this case. So how that's going to weigh in on this, especially it not being at the U.S. Supreme Court, but already it's right in the appeals court. This case could be the case that goes to the U.S. Supreme Court that they take up because, again, it's got that thorough record in the district court. So let's now check out what the state's attorneys from across the state have also filed after the DOJ filed their brief. You can see this through Thomas Haynes' office. He is the Madison County state's attorney, and he says he's leading the state's attorneys of 35 counties and calling for Illinois' ban on firearms to be ruled unconstitutional. There are 102 counties in Illinois. You've got 35 of them. So that's, right about a third of the counties in Illinois have state's attorneys that are asking a federal appeals court to find Illinois' gun ban unconstitutional. So that is stacked on top of the U.S. Department of Justice filing saying that the Illinois ban is unconstitutional. So Madison County State's Attorney Tom Hayne, he's assembled a team of 35 elected state's attorneys from across the state to file an amicus brief. They say that the state's attorneys argue the ban enacted by Illinois is unconstitutional because it broadly bans entire categories of firearms that are widely owned by law-abiding Illinoisans, and the ban does not follow the historical tradition of firearm regulation in the United States. Goes on to talk about the duties of protecting the Constitution and individuals' rights. It talks a bit about the history of the ban, and it prohibiting, the sale of AR-15 style rifles. Gives some history of the case, but then you've got the brief arguing, according to a news release, as prosecutors, we go to work every day to deter such crimes, command justice for victims, put those who do harm to our communities behind bars, and protect our residents by strengthening the justice system and enforcing the rule of law. The brief also argues that it's in service to that same rule of law that we urge the honorable court to support and uphold the constitutionally protected rights enshrined in the Second Amendment, the right of the people to own commonplace firearms so they can defend hearth and home and live freely with the means to secure their own and others' ultimate safety. So let's just, here's all the different, I'm not going to read every single one of these off, but this is the 35 different states' attorneys. Brown County, Calhoun County, Carroll County, Christian County, Clark County, Clay County, Clinton County, Cumberland County, Edwards County, maybe I will read all these off, Effingham County, Gallatin County, Hancock County, Henry County, Iroquois County, Jefferson County, Jasper County, Jersey County, Joe Davies County, Johnson County, Livingston County, Madison County, Marion County, Mercer County, Monroe County, Ogle County, Perry County, Pulaski County, and Schuyler County. Are you in those counties? Also Scott County, Union County, Vermilion County, Warren County, Washington County, White County, Woodford County. Those are the 35 different states' attorneys that are filing in the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, saying that the law banning certain firearms is unconstitutional. So Governor J.B. Pritzker signing the budget yesterday, he was taking off-topic questions. I wasn't in Chicago yesterday, but I had a fellow reporter ask him to respond to the DOJ saying that the gun ban in Illinois is unconstitutional. And here's Governor J.B. Pritzker's response.
Look, change of administration, that's their, this is their, they obviously don't understand the damage that's being done across the country where there are no assault weapons bans, and they have paid zero attention to the fact that in the 90s, when there was a national assault weapons ban, the number of killings went down significantly. And so they're wrong-headed on so many things, but this is yet another of those. Thank you all very much.
Now, obviously, you can slice numbers all kinds of different ways, but the governor saying that killings went down during the national assault weapons ban back in the 90s. A lot of people refuting that online. Maybe it's something some fact checkers can delve deep into the statistics and find all of that out. And obviously, that's going to be done as they go to court on this with oral arguments. When those arguments are going to be made, not sure. When they're going to be scheduled, not sure, but you've got one more round of filings going to happen from the state in this case, and that's expected in the weeks ahead, and then we'll get oral arguments at some point. But also in the Second Amendment space, Governor J.B. Pritzker yesterday signing House Bill 850. That's the measure that supporters say allows for some due process for individuals who have their firearm owner ID card taken away or denied, and it allows for that individual to have some due process to find out why and to possibly go to court eventually to get their rights back. But opponents of the measure said it's not due process at all to have somebody's Second Amendment rights taken away through an administrative process, not an actual due process of an individual facing their accuser in court and being convicted of something before their rights get taken away. So Governor Pritzker signed House Bill 850 yesterday. He still has the safe storage law on his way to his desk after the legislature approved that. There may be a big bill signing ceremony for that one. So we'll be watching for when that's signed. But all of this happening while you've got the Illinois Auditor General's office putting out audits of the firearm owner identification card and Illinois State Police. And you can go through and find this at auditor.illinois.gov. And what they found was that Illinois State Police are not following the FOID card law on a couple of different things. They're not putting the money from the FOID card where it needs to go. This has been an ongoing concern, and you've even had, politicians past and present talk about how they shouldn't be sweeping these FOID funds. They should be going to where they're supposed to go to help out the process of keeping the FOID card operational. So the audit found that the money's being swept, but it also found that people weren't being notified in a timely manner about their FOID card expiration coming up. And that's another issue that we've tackled before in the past, just the entire process of the FOID card and the delays that happen. So you can go check that out as well at auditor.illinois.gov. You can see the audit of State Police Administration of the FOID Card Act and also the FOID Card and Concealed Carry programs. So read up on all of that. So we'll be watching this and more, right? So stay with us, Illinois in Focus Daily, each and every weekday morning. And you can also follow me on X. Just search Bishop on Air. We can connect that way. And well, get the podcast where you get podcasts. Search Illinois in Focus. Get the newsletter in your inbox at thecentersquare.com. And stay informed of what's going on with Illinois in Focus Daily.